Welcome to MRE Uncut, where we'll give you real and practical insights into the real estate scene in Melbourne. We'll discuss what's happening in the industry, all backed by MRE's history of over 30 years in the game. With that said, let's jump into this week's episode of MRE Uncut.
Hi, my name's Stephen Fitzsimon. Welcome back to another version of MRE Uncut. I'm joined today by one of our property managers, Louisa Raffel.
Good morning. Good afternoon, should I say, actually.
It is the afternoon, but that's okay. I'll forgive you for that. And then today we've invited in one of our landlords, Sam.
G'day. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming in, Sam. Today we want to have a chat about, in Sam's instance, what can happen when things don't go to plan. And we'd also like to sort of expand out on that and sort of see when you need an agent who can deliver for you, what that actually means, because there's a lot of different experiences that agents can have under a lot of different circumstances. And Sam, our man, has had one of those that you really don't want to happen. So
his is a once in a lifetime story, I think.
I hope so. Yeah.
I hope so for you.
It's a once in my lifetime story. So I've been doing this for the better part of 25, 30 years, and so yours is one of the worst I've seen by far. I've always in my career, when I've spoken to clients about what can go wrong, given them a couple of examples. These are my textbook examples. The two that I use are things that have happened to me in my experience. I had one where we had a townhouse that was moved into. We had a couple with two young kids moved into it. They'd been renting together. They were married. Everything was fine. No problems, rental history, you name it. All good. They moved in and he got on the gear, got on ice.
Oof.
Right? So I don't know what was going on. Something obviously in his personal life got on the gear, turned into a full-on nutcase. The wife had to run away, right? Escape from him, took the kids, ran away, and he basically trashed the apartment or the townhouse. Mm-hmm. And the owner had to spend a fortune getting it refixed. Now, leading up to that time, you sort of go, oh, well, how do you prevent that? As an owner, as an agent, as a wife, as kids, how do you prevent it? Well, that's a tough one. And the same thing, but different, happened in a building in Richmond where we had a really nice couple who moved in who'd been living together for 2 years, a guy and a girl, and they just rented this little one-bedroom apartment and they had rental history, et cetera, and they came into this property and then after about 6 months, they broke up.
Oh.
And so the clean freak, lovely young lady moved out and left the grotty guy in there on his own, right? He was a tradie and, well, let's just say the boots didn't get left outside anymore. And then, of course, he was lonely. What do you do when you're lonely? Get a dog.
Make a mess.
You get a dog. Right, so then he's got a dog in the place, and then sure enough, he's disorganised, he's heartbroken, he loses his job, right? And so you're sort of like you're trying to build these experiences out, and I use these examples because they're difficult to predict that they happen. It happens to everybody, and is why you often hear real estate agents arc on about the importance of landlord insurance and doing those sorts of things. So, Sam, give us a little bit of background as to your property, your purchase of it, the journey that you've been on up until these recent events.
Yeah, sure. So this is the first property that my wife and I have owned and leased out. We bought it in early 2020. It was right as COVID was coming in, and we got lucky. Actually, the property had been purchased a couple of weeks before we bought it, and the buyer was from China right as COVID was kind of coming in, so they pulled out.
Gotcha.
Got relisted, but no one knew about it, so we walked in on the day and we were the only people there, negotiated and bought it for 40 grand less than someone had bought it for 2 weeks earlier.
Oh, that's all right.
So that was good. That was a good start.
Yeah.
And after a while, when we started to lease out the property, we had a tenant come in, and then kind of over time the problem started to emerge. So it kind of evolved as we went along, but yeah.
Yeah. So slowly but surely, it wasn't a first second thing, or it was pretty close after they moved in that you got the warning signs.
There were some warning signs pretty early on. I think it became pretty clear it was going to be a bit of a hard work tenant, but as Louisa can attest as well, that the kind of level that it spiraled to was far beyond what we had anticipated early on.
All right.
He was very smart. He knew how to play the rental game.
Okay, so this is part of where we're playing today, because we've got a circumstance now more than ever before that you can play the rental game. If you get into a property, in our other podcast, we've gone into the fact that we believe in tenancy rights and we believe that owners should keep their properties up to the standards that are required by the law, and we support the changes that have been made to make properties safer and better for consumers. So that's not where we're going here. But the angle here is that once you're into a property, if you know how to play the property game and you know how to work your magic with VCAT, then you can drag things out over an extended period.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Yeah.
To the detriment.
This guy's had plenty of magic.
Right.
Yeah.
So this guy's, the creme de la creme of playing the game.
Very much so.
Do you want to give us a little bit, Louisa? You've been involved with this one more than anyone could imagine. Can you give us sort of like a run through on where this one went?
So from when I took over it, he had rent arrears.
Yep.
Would go to VCAT. The day before the VCAT hearing, he paid the rental arrears.
Okay,
Until the VCAT hearing. So then on the VCAT hearing day, he's not in arrears. They won't award possession.
Right. So if we look at this from if you're out there and you're going, what do you mean, all this sort of stuff, a tenant has to pay the rent, well, supposed to pay the rent on the due date. Mm-hmm. If they don't pay it after 15 days, then we issue them with a notice to vacate. If they don't vacate, we then issue them with we ask for a hearing at VCAT. Mm-hmm. How long does it take to get a hearing at VCAT?
It's become a bit quicker now.
Okay.
But at that time, was said last year, we were still waiting approximately 12 weeks for a hearing.
So in this time, he's okay, and then you get to the hearing date and he's paid up to the hearing date.
He pays up to the hearing date. So then we have to start over again. We're then getting the breach notices, constant complaints from neighbours, constant issues, going left, right and centre. We're trying to do routine inspections. We get in there once. There's nothing but problems. So we send him all the breach notices. We're trying to get in again to complete more inspections. We could not get in for the life of us.
And why couldn't you, when you say you couldn't get in, mm-hmm. was this because he changed the locks?
Yeah, so change the locks. Then we would send him the notice of entry, and when we would turn up for the inspections, surprise, surprise, he's not there.
So therefore you were making arrangements because you didn't have a key, and then going there, and of course you can't get in because he's not there.
Yep, because he's gone and changed all the locks. So you breach him for changing the locks without giving us a key.
Yes.
We try everything to get in. Finally, he goes behind in rent again.
Yes.
And this time, when we got to VCAT, he did pay some, but we were able to prove that it was not reasonable and proportionate for him to remain in the property. It was putting such a financial strain. I remember our conversations. It was not a nice situation. He was coming up with every excuse and even said to the member that he has the money, he borrowed the money from other people. We can get in there. That they can continue paying. It wasn't until I said to the member pretty much that, hey, yes, can borrow money to pay these, but now he's going to have to pay off somebody else on top of paying the rent.
Yeah.
So when the member actually looked back, thought about it, goes, no, awarded us possession.
So how did you feel during this journey that you're on where you've got somebody playing you, Sam?
Yeah. I think by this time we knew that he was hard work and that he was playing the system. I think it was before you even became involved, Louisa, that he'd also spent some time locked up, right, as well. So the only time that we were getting rent coming in reliably was when somebody else had been paying it on his behalf while he was accommodated elsewhere.
Occupied elsewhere. His Majesty's accommodation service.
For about 6 months. So he was already having to pay other people who had been paying his rent. But, yeah, it was becoming evident that he knew how to work the system and he was kind of using all the tricks.
He had 6 months to study it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he knew that even after we were awarded possession of still how to delay it.
Yeah, that's right. He appealed the possession order or something.
We're lucky that we acted on it so quickly.
Yep.
So it was constantly calling VCAT to get that warrant given to us. As soon as that warrant came in, it wasn't just sitting around waiting for the local police to call us. It was on their case constantly, booking it in. Thankfully, we did that because then the day after we changed the locks and we took possession back, we get an email from VCAT putting a stay order on the warrant because the renters actually applied to Supreme Court.
So he's gone to that extent to play the game. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, after he vacated, did he ever return to the premises like in an authorised manner?
Never in an authorised manner, but allegedly him and his friends would turn up at all hours of the morning, never through the front door, through windows, garages, using the neighbour's property to climb onto the roof and getting access in every other way other than the front door.
Yeah. So this guy was no good.
No.
And so he played the game to his advantage and just delayed and delayed and delayed. Now, from the time, Sam, you probably got the best idea here. We've got a bad tenant and we've got an agent that's working to get rid of that tenant within the rules that are provided.
Yeah.
How did the rules that are provided reassure you of the sense of justice?
Yeah, it was really clear and we really appreciated, like Louisa was obviously following those rules and doing everything by the book, but it did often feel like we were doing everything by the book, he was doing everything other than by the book, right? And so there's this kind of a disadvantage because, we were wanting to play it the right way. And it was hard too because across that whole time, part of what he was doing was threatening and intimidating neighbours, damaging neighbours' property and that kind of stuff. So there was a real cost to people and not even just to ourselves but to other people as well of this behaviour. But continuing to play by the rules we knew would eventually lead to the outcome that we were hoping for, but did stretch the whole thing out and felt like we were always on the back foot, right, because he was going around.
Well, he'd extended it out even further than making claims that we stole diamond rings, we stole money, he had this hidden in the place, the lot.
So after he's vacated, he's then made claims that the agent or the landlord, I don't know which one it was, has stolen from him in his belongings. So he's gotten out of it, come back in, broken or allegedly, come back in, taken other stuff out, left the junk, then made claims that we've stolen from him. And then, so what happened then?
We couldn't even access the property. We weren't allowed to step a foot inside without him. VCAT ordered. We had to actually stand there for 3 hours. I remember it was a boiling hot summer's day.
Yeah.
Standing out there in the boiling hot, walking up and down the driveway, waiting for him to show up.
Never came.
In which he never turned up. So then by the time we had another VCAT hearing from there to say, hey, he never turned up.
Yeah.
How can we go from here? Finally, that was probably about 8 weeks, nearly 2 months or so after we actually got original possession of the property.
Right.
that we could then technically continue with that possession.
Yeah. So we couldn't start any repairs, get rid of any stuff, couldn't go in there to affect any improvements or remediation or anything like that. So
anything.
all of that has just been delayed.
Yeah.
Why do you reckon?
It was, well, VCAT's allowed him to, or entertained the idea that there was things that were stolen, so had to give him the opportunity to go there, collect his items.
Yeah.
Because he's claimed that we wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yeah. But effectively, like, you know, what's the gain for him? If he wasn't going to win, wasn't going to turn up, wasn't going to do this, what's the gain? Is it just spite?
I think it was two things. One, it was purely out of spite. And two, there was potentially drugs within the property that he was using in there. There's as an area.
Oh, so it's a storage thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Quite interesting. It was quite a doozy.
So, yeah.
How many VCAT hearings did you have, Louisa?
I ended up having for him, I think around about 6 or 7 hearings for it before we were actually really got full possession and allowed to go in there.
Sam, when did you see the property for the first time after he'd vacated it?
I haven't been in since he's vacated. Yeah.
Well, there you
Haven't
go.
been there.
So, Louisa?
I urged him not to because
I think
it's
that's
not.
a good idea. You'd cry.
It was not a sight that he wanted to see, nor would his lovely wife need to see what the house was looking like.
No.
I think I sent you maybe a video,
Yeah.
but I said you don't need to go in there.
Not in a good state.
No, not in a good state. So the place has pretty much been done over. You've got a tenant that by that stage, what was the arrears at that point?
The arrears hit probably about 9, close to 10,000.
So 10,000 in arrears, a house that needs significant amounts of repairs, and then you've obtained possession. You didn't turn up when he was supposed to be getting his rings back or whatever else it might be. And then what was the next step after that?
We couldn't – so we lodged our insurance claim with the insurance provider.
Right. So insurance came in to save the day.
Insurance came in, but we had the problem. None of our tradespeople wanted to go because he kept on breaking in.
Ah, okay. So they didn't want to go there because they kept
– they would have a look and they're like, this is too unsafe for us to be in here.
Right.
So they didn't want to go. So then we had the insurance company, hey, you need to go down to the property to check. I'm like, we can't. It's not safe. It took months to be able to literally beg the insurance company, please get a team of people out there, an assessor, to do the works and to do everything. We can't do it ourselves. It's too big for us.
Yeah, too big a job for us to be able to do, and the trades weren't willing to go there. They could see what had happened and the likelihood of encountering further difficulties.
Yeah.
So it gets even more complicated. So, okay, so then so where are we at now? Like this is months and months ago now, and where does it sit now?
So we're still going. Hasn't finished, unfortunately. There was, unfortunately, quite high levels of meth contamination.
Right, so he's another druggie on top of whatever else he was up to.
And they've had to place.
So do all insurance policies cover meth?
Yeah. So this policy club covered 70,000.
Right. Okay.
There was so much work, like even the staircase balustrade he'd ripped out.
Right.
The place pretty much has been gutted. A whole heap of works is done to it. They've actually got 24-hour security on site because he hasn't come back for a while now, a long while.
Probably
but
been
out
accommodated elsewhere again.
But just to make sure that he doesn't destroy any of the works that are being going on, they've actually got security on site for him. But we've gone through so much with it. Now I think we're getting close to it. Insurance, amazing, fantastic. If you don't have it, you need to get it. Sam's been very lucky and he's had he went a while without having payments.
Yeah.
but they've been getting the payments now. And I think we've actually just gone over and they've still given an extra payments for it as well.
So it's like this is an extreme case, but that's a significant benefit for what is effectively, less than a week's rent each year to sort of save your backside on.
Well, the claims the last I checked, the claim was at approximately 110,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot.
That's a lot of money, isn't it? 110 grand that if you hadn't had landlord insurance, yet you had a competent agent, because that's the other thing. If you didn't have an agent that knew what you were doing, then you could imagine how they'd fall into the category of further losses or further delays or further. Wow, 110K and that'd be devastating as an investor.
Oh yeah, that would have been completely devastating for us. Yeah, it's a big bill.
It's huge. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of that journey, but how's that leave you feeling, Sam, in terms of property investment? Did you anticipate it as a risk? Did you think, let's get the insurance because anything could happen? Is it like car insurance to you?
We did think that. Let's get the insurance because anything could happen. When we thought anything, we weren't expecting anything like this. It's been so important to have had that as well as the support from MRE. My wife and I have had some long conversations about what we do with the property going forward. At this stage, we're planning to list it and rent it out again. We've just tried to remind ourselves that, as you both said before, it's a 1 in 1,000 kind of case, right? The fact that it's gone this way doesn't mean it'll go that way again.
No.
But it certainly has been pretty sobering. And because it's the first time we've leased out a property, it's been a pretty rough kind of entry into the
journey.
Exactly, yeah. Hopefully that'll be the worst of our lifetime. But
I'd hope it is.
Yeah.
I would hope it is. Okay, so power to you for your courage in terms of wanting to do it. What would you say to an owner who goes, oh, gee, I don't know, $400 for insurance?
Ask them if they want to pay 110 grand.
Well, that's brutal, isn't it? If you look at it from that case, how do you predict that you're going to have an absolute psycho coming into your property?
That's the thing. People can change. You can have an absolutely perfect rental history. All of a sudden, their job changes and everything changes from there.
Yeah, can change your mindset.
Yep.
Psychologically, you change.
That's it.
We've had a lot of incidences where people have had breakdowns and destroyed properties in a matter of 2 or 3 months. That actually happens more. You get mental health issues and those type of things. Yeah. So there's some journeys there. So competent, great to have a competent agent. Mm-hmm. Great to have an insurance policy that works, but you're still a believer in investment properties.
I think so.
I like it.
He's a believer in me.
I'm a believer in Louisa. I'm a believer in Louisa.
No, your work, Louisa, has been absolutely first rate again. Yeah. So well done to that. Sam, thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Yeah. Look forward to tuning in next time.
Speak to you soon.